Now tell me if you've experienced this. You interview for a job, it goes amazing. You really connect with everybody, you do another round, you're feeling great, and all of a sudden the recruiter reaches out to you and says, hey Ben, the position's going on hold, or we're going into a hiring pause or a hiring freeze. But don't worry, we're very interested in you and we'll be in touch soon. And then you find yourself thinking, well, what does that mean? In today's video, I'm going to tell you from a recruiter's perspective with 13 years of recruiting exactly what that means, what you can expect, and under which scenarios is this going to happen to you. Let's go. Now, first and foremost, this happens all the time. It happens all the time. That doesn't make it less frustrating, right? You go, you think you're a great fit, you're super interested in a role, you do all your preparation, you watch videos from Ben Talks Talent, you nail the interview, of course, and now they're telling you, well, let's hurry up and wait. And they don't necessarily give you a time frame, and then you're left wondering, well, are they going to move forward? Do I still have a good shot at getting this job, or are they just done altogether? Well, I'd like to explain to you the four instances in which this happens, why it happens, and what the outlook is on whether or not you might still get this job. Now, the first instance in which this happens is the priorities of the department doing the hirings shift. And that means attention is temporarily diverted from recruiting. So what does this mean? So maybe you are a quality engineer and you're interviewing for a job, and then all of a sudden they say, hey, we're pausing hiring right now, but we're still very interested in you. We'll be back in touch. They don't give you a timeline, but what does that mean? Well, one of the things that could be happening is maybe there is a giant audit and all the people involved in the hiring process, now it's all hands on deck. They have to go work on that. Or maybe there's a huge lean initiative that is priority number one, and that's been cascaded from somebody very high in the organization, and they have to put other things on hold. This genuinely happens. So they could be telling you the truth. And if this is a situation you're encountering, I would say it is still very likely once that priority is completed, they'll pick up where they left off and move you forward. But that's a situation in which it could happen. Now, the second one happens all the time. It'll be very obvious if this is a reason why it's happening. But sometimes hiring is temporarily paused or frozen because of a business impact to your organization, right? So if all of a sudden sales are down or there's been a market condition that perhaps they didn't expect, that might change their forecast for hiring. Maybe they felt like they could hire your role, but given what's happened recently, they no longer feel as comfortable. So they go, hey, we need to pause this. And sometimes that could be a long pause. Sometimes it can be a shorter pause. But it is one of those things where, there's not a lot you can do. You just have to kind of deal with that. But assuming things turn around or whatever disruptive force subsides and they can continue hiring, I would think it's pretty likely that they move forward with you if everything went well and they seemed genuinely interested. The next thing that can happen, and this one's not going to be easy to hear, but sometimes that's a recruiter ghosting you without ghosting you, right? Perhaps they've determined, okay, this person isn't really a good fit, we're going to go in a different direction, blah, 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 and they don't have the courtesy or courage to tell you the truth. So they're saying, hey, we're kind of putting this on pause. I'll let you know if that changes. That's a way to kind of soft ghost someone or soft decline them or regret them without actually telling them what actually happened. This is really unfortunate, but as many of you watching this can probably attest to, it does happen. If that's happened to you, please feel free to leave it in the comments. I will respond, but that is another reason why it happens. The next thing that happens, and this happens all the time, is they become unsure if the role they were hiring for is actually what they need or if they need something else. And sometimes this leads to the role genuinely changing, which means you may or may not still be qualified for this role. This actually happens all the time. So if they say, hey, we're reevaluating the position right now, we'll be in touch in the next month, the reality is that's not a good thing for your candidacy because they're probably going to change the specific requirements in order to find someone with a slightly different or altogether different skill set because they determined that's what the department needs. If one of these things happens to you, my advice is you definitely want to keep looking and maybe look elsewhere. And if you're doing that, one of the things you need to make sure that is good is that your LinkedIn profile is excellent, which is why I made this video here. This video here is 5 mistakes that candidates make on their LinkedIn profile that cause recruiters to click off or lose interest in the candidate. Trust me, you don't want that. You want a strong LinkedIn profile. So my recommendation is you're done here, but I'll meet up with you again over here and we can talk about all this stuff. It's going to be great. I'll see you over there.